Hello and a very warm welcome to you. You're watching live from Paris here on France 24 with me, Eve Irvine. These are our top stories this hour. Released and returning to their families, 279 schoolgirls in northern Nigeria have been freed by their kidnappers. They were abducted last week from their boarding school. They're said to be in good health and indeed were full of smiles. Their kidnapping, the latest in a series of similar attacks. France says the over 65s can get the AstraZeneca vaccine. It had previously limited this jab to younger people due to a lack of data on whether or not it's efficient. A recent UK study says it has shown good results in a real-world study. The former president of Barcelona's football club and 3 other members arrested as part of a police investigation into Barca-gate scandal, where the club paid a PR team to speak badly of some of the players. It's good to have you with us. Well, also coming up in this hour of the programme, it's zoomed past all expectations. Video conferencing provider Zoom saw a 369% rise in its revenue for the final quarter of 2020, brushing aside concerns about weakening growth. We'll be taking a look at that in our business update. And then Alison Sargent will be with us for a review of the day's newspapers. The jail time handed down to former French President Nicolas Sarkozy getting very divided reactions. It is the first time a former head of state in France has been hit with such a sentence. All 279 schoolgirls abducted from their boarding school in northern Nigeria last week have now been freed. They were brought back to government buildings to meet with the governor before returning to their families. Initial reports had said that more girls were kidnapped last Friday, but we are being told that everyone is now accounted for and has been brought back to safety. The police commissioner says an investigation is underway.
Before you hear, the girls are healthy and very, very happy. The whole thing is under police investigation. It's after the investigation we'll be able to outline the details of how, when, procedure and circumstances that was employed in entering the school and in getting out of the school.
Well, schools have become targets for mass kidnappings for ransom in northern Nigeria by armed criminal groups. The government has repeatedly denied paying ransom, with the President Muhammadu Buhari warning last week that the state officials should not reward bandits with money. Schools in northern Nigeria are currently closed, as our correspondent confirms.
It's actually becoming a trend, if we could say that. If there are negotiations on ground and if it's a major source of income for the bandits, then it should be a norm for them. Anytime they want something, they'll just do what they think will bring them back what they are needing. Reason why, of course, negotiation, even kidnapping in the north of Nigeria has always been there. For back in the years, remember the Chibok girls, and remember also what happened in December last year. Kidnapping of travelers from the highway has always been a major source of the bandits in the northern part of Nigeria. But for the innocent schoolgirls, I think it's the new trend. Well, we cannot for sure say what is underneath until investigations really reveal what is happening.
Ghana's president, the first to get a coronavirus vaccine under the global COVAX scheme, which aims to deliver 2 billion shots to poorer countries this year. Akufo-Addo got his AstraZeneca jab live on television along with his wife. Neighbouring Ivory Coast has also received its first delivery from that same scheme, just over 500,000 doses. Olivia Bizot takes a look at how these inoculations are being received.
Ghana, making history, as President Nana Akufo-Addo receives the world's first free vaccine from COVAX. It's a UN-backed global scheme aimed at levelling the playing field between countries as poorer nations trail behind others in sourcing immunisations against COVID-19.
It's important that I set the example that this vaccine is safe by being the first to have it, so that everybody in Ghana can feel comfortable about taking this vaccine.
The First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, also received an Oxford AstraZeneca shot, one day before the rest of the 600,000 doses are deployed across the country. At the top of the priority list are essential workers and people over the age of 60. But the logistics of distributing the jabs aren't the only challenge. Many Ghanaians remain unsure that the vaccination is safe, with conspiracy theories casting doubts on the programme. Doubts that authorities tried to tamper at the reception ceremony.
Your Excellency, thankfully, we have a vaccine now to help in the fight against the virus. The ceremony this morning, I believe, will help change minds about the conspiracies that people have against this virus.
Another country at the front of the COVAX queue is Ivory Coast, with injections also beginning on Monday. Next in line is Nigeria, that is due to receive nearly 4 million doses of the vaccine later this week. The World Health Organization has said it aims to distribute 600 million doses of the jabs to Africa by the end of the year, enough to vaccinate at least 20% of the population.
Meanwhile, Colombia became the first country in the Americas to receive vaccines through that same COVAX scheme, with 117,000 doses delivered. President Ivan Duque saying it was an important milestone. Countries in the Americas have reported over 50 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 and over 1 million deaths from that virus. In other COVID vaccine news, a British study now shows that the Pfizer and the AstraZeneca vaccine are highly effective in preventing serious illness in older people. The real-world study coming just before France decided to reverse its decision and to now authorise the AstraZeneca vaccine for people over the age of 65. The French health minister says the jab will be offered to people up to the age of 75. Fraser Jackson tells us more.
Its efficacy has been called remarkable by France's health authority. So now the country's health minister has announced that the Oxford University AstraZeneca vaccine will be rolled out to those over 65 with pre-existing conditions, reaching a further 2.5 million people.
Je peux acter que désormais, toutes les personnes qui sont âgées de 50 ans et plus et qui ont ce qu'on appelle des comorbidités, des fragilités, comme le diabète, l'hypertension, un antécédent de cancer, peuvent se faire vacciner avec AstraZeneca sans limite d'âge, donc les 50 ans et plus, incluant les 65-75 ans.
Those doses will be dished out at doctors' offices, hospitals and pharmacies. France's announcement follows in the footsteps of similar news from the UK, which showed that the vaccine was highly effective even after one dose, with a particular impact on hospitalizations.
Exciting new data that shows that a single shot of either the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine or of the Pfizer vaccine works against severe infection among the over 70s, with a more than 80% reduction in hospitalizations. This is extremely good news.
The UK has been the European country hardest hit by COVID, but it has accelerated its vaccination programme at breakneck speed, far outstripping its continental neighbours. Over 20 million people have so far been vaccinated, almost a quarter of the population.
The White House defends the fact that it has not slapped sanctions on Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, saying that it does not want to rupture relations with the kingdom. A newly declassified CIA report stopped short of saying that the prince ordered the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, but did say he had absolute control over the kingdom's intelligence organisations and that it would be highly unlikely for such a murder to happen without his approval. Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the UN has dismissed the CIA report. Sharon Gaffney has the story.
As the US comes under increasing criticism over its response to the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, it's again defending its decision not to impose sanctions on Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman after he was directly implicated by the CIA.
We feel that we can have the most influence over this partnership when it is cast as a recalibration and not a rupture. Were there to be something more dramatic and something more drastic than what we have talked about, I think the influence that we would have over any foreign leader, be it Mohammed bin Salman or any other world leader in question, would be greatly diminished.
The State Department says Riyadh has recently taken steps in the right direction by releasing a well-known women's rights activist and ending the Saudi-led blockade on Qatar. But the Biden administration has been coming under fire since publishing a declassified intelligence report on Friday. It found the prince had approved the 2018 killing of Khashoggi, a journalist and prominent critic of the Saudi regime. Washington has placed 76 Saudi nationals on a no-travel list and imposed sanctions on others involved in his murder, but activists and those close to the journalist are demanding further action. In a statement, Khashoggi's fiancée called for the prince to be punished without delay, to bring about justice for Jamal and to prevent similar acts recurring in the future. Her comments have been echoed by the UN.
It is extremely, in my view, problematic, if not dangerous, to acknowledge someone's culpability and then to tell that someone, but we won't do anything, please proceed as if we had said nothing.
Saudi Arabia has forcefully rejected the report's conclusions.
Making it official, Colombia's president has now signed a decree that allows temporary protection status to nearly 1 million undocumented migrants, allowed to reside and travel within the country for a decade, during which they can apply for a residency visa. Some 1.7 million Venezuelans are living in Colombia, having fled their economically devastated homeland, and most of them undocumented. Shirley Sitbon reports.
This document will change the lives of almost 1 million people. 1 million Venezuelans who have fled to Colombia without documents and have not been able to work, get housing, or gain access to social services. This decree gives them a status. It will protect them for the next 10 years.
May this gesture by Colombia, which calls on the international community, bring more attention to the crisis, but also help us achieve a global solution to the cause.
About 5.4 million Venezuelans, almost 20% of the population, have fled their country due to the economic crisis there. 1.7 million found shelter in Colombia. Colombia faces financial hardships of its own, which have worsened under the COVID-19 pandemic. It is still offering to help migrants, but it's calling for more financial backing from the international community.
With the statute, the migrants will be able to work, they will have access to healthcare and education.
Migrants who are registered will be able to ask for a residence visa to remain in Colombia even after the 10-year period is over. Many hope to return to their home country when the economic situation improves. Venezuela is facing its 7th year of recession, runaway inflation, and there are acute shortages of food and medicine.
Several arrests have been made after a raid at the offices of Barcelona's football club. The former president of that club, Josep Maria Bartomeu, among those detained, in fact, as part of an investigation into a scandal dubbed Barcagate. That was when the club was accused of covering up payments made to a company hired to boost the image of President Bartomeu on social media. Part of that included criticising current and former players. Our correspondent in Madrid, Sarah Morris, tells us more.
Well, this scandal was uncovered by Cadena SER, the Spanish radio station. They essentially, in February 2020, said that there was a contract by Barcelona with an external firm called 13 Ventures of about €1 million, and that although it was supposedly there to improve the image of the president, Josep Maria Bartomeu, in fact, it was actually producing negative material about individuals on the social networks. These individuals included top footballers like Lionel Messi and Gerard Piqué. And the investigation essentially was taken up by a court when a group of fans went to the court and said that it should be investigated. Now the court is looking at whether that management team led by Bartomeu actually defamed individuals and whether there was even corruption involved in those contracts, because some investigators believe that the amount of €1 million paid was about 7 times the going rate for that kind of publicity contract. Barcelona Football Club, back when the investigation was revealed, they always said that there was a contract that was taken out with 13 Ventures, that company, but they said that it was not designed to defame any individuals on the social networks.
You're watching live from Paris here on France 24. If you're just joining us, this is our top story this hour. Released and returning to their families, 279 schoolgirls in northern Nigeria have been freed by their kidnappers. They were abducted last week from their boarding school. They're said to be in good health and indeed were full of smiles. They're kidnapping the latest in a series of similar attacks. And France says over 65s can get the AstraZeneca vaccine. It had previously limited this jab to younger people due to a lack of data of whether or not it would be efficient. A recent UK study says it has shown good results in a real-world study among the older population.